G'day guys, Clint Adams here, and I'm recording episode number 27 of The Full Landscape with Claire and Rachael from Fox Avenue Studio. In this podcast, our first ever two-guest podcast. That's why you'll probably know, if you're watching this, you'll see the tables around a different way, and I'm kind of awkwardly kind of sitting here. We'll just get into the details around how these two met only recently in the last 2 years, what it's like, or how, I guess, the impact of not having a television growing up can change the direction of your life, and much, much more. Hope you enjoy.
Y'all ready to turn it up tonight? If you really wanna fly, your hands in the air, let the music get you high.
Tell me your story.
So I grew up on a reasonably sized block in a place called Houghton.
Yep.
Which is in the Adelaide Hills.
Very familiar with Houghton.
Love it up there. Beautiful spot. Grew up without a TV, so we spent a lot of time outdoors. So for me, it was...
that explains a lot. Not having TV.
Yeah, I fail all the quiz night movie questions. So spent a lot of time outside, whether that be playing on the oval or whatever that was next door. Then kind of moved away from that and worked in retail, which I never really enjoyed. And then after I got a divorce, I kind of went, what am I doing with my life? So I went to TAFE and studied a diploma of landscape design.
Yep.
I think in my head I always knew I wanted to be outside with what I was doing, but I recognised that I was getting older, and that my body isn't going to be as strong forever, and so there's a limitation to how long I could work outside digging or planting or whatever, whereas designing, you can do it almost by voice, so
yeah.
a lot easier to do that. So took up the diploma, and then when I was almost finished with the diploma, realised that I didn't actually have quite enough plant knowledge for what I wanted. So I went and studied a Certificate 3 in horticulture at the Botanic Gardens, Adelaide and Mount Lofty, which was an amazing experience.
So you can study that at
Yeah.
Botanic Gardens. It's not like a stuck in a dusty room at a TAFE.
No. So you can do it at TAFE. This was a brand new course that Pam Gurnall had set up at the time. So we were the first group going through, and we had one day that was kind of in the office in the study room at the Adelaide Botanic Gardens, and then one day working up at Mount Lofty. So we're actually hands-on. Just amazing the amount of knowledge those guys have, and they're so passionate about it, and they want to share it.
Yeah.
So it was so much learning, and we just had an absolute ball doing that. So from there I actually launched my own sole trader landscape design business in 2012.
What was it called?
Outdoor Oasis Designs. And I was just doing designs for friends and family, started out with that and sort of branched out a little bit.
Yep.
And then I went to work for a wholesale nursery, moved from the wholesale to the retail nursery, and started realising that I could actually really make the connection with the clients that were coming through with my horticulture and design background. And it was kind of a bit of a niche that not a lot of people had both. In that part of the industry. So then doing my own design work, built up quite slowly over about 6 years. And then I started studying at Adelaide Uni, the undergrad for landscape architecture.
Yep.
And that's where I met Claire.
So you guys have only really recently met?
2017?
I don't know, a few years.
16 maybe?
I guess recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were studying the same course?
Yeah, studying the same course.
Into your story.
Yeah. And we ended up working on a project through uni together with another 4 other people, and it was an amazing experience. We all got along so well.
Yeah.
The lecturer actually said to us, like, what's your trick?
Yep.
How come you guys are working so well together? And so that was our first experience of actually working together. And by the time 12 months had passed, I had too much on with my own business and trying to study at uni. So I approached Claire and said, would you be interested in doing some work for me? And she said, I'll need to sort of think about it.
Yep.
And I went away and thought about it and thought, I don't actually want someone to work for me. I want someone to work with me.
Yep.
So had another meeting and said, you happy to work with me?
Yeah.
I like how you call it a meeting. We sat down for lunch.
That's
So
most of
how
our
about
meetings.
There's TK's beautiful hand just reached in. Any excuse to get into the podcast.
Yeah, so we do try and keep things a bit informal, I guess, with our meetings.
That's fine. I have meetings every day, so it's okay.
Yeah, and Claire decided that it was a good idea, and thank God she did, because it's just been,
It works.
yeah, it works. It's crazy. It's crazy. We are still studying, both of us, but what I've found is that I struggle not being able to work with Claire now.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's things work so much better when we're
When
working
you're together.
together than, yeah, I know. It's,
We haven't had tears in a podcast.
and I kind of get like upset with myself. I'm like, I need to spend more time with Claire because
Yeah.
I've got this design that I just need to work on and I need her, you know. So, and we work so well together, just so happy that it's worked out that way.
That's cool. And so, Jesus, will you both finish your education at the same time? Is that the idea, or are you behind? Are you 6 months apart, or?
So I'm a year ahead of
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
So
this
yeah,
stage.
the big piece of paper that I got a couple of weeks ago,
Yep.
that was for my undergraduate degree.
Yep.
And now there's 2 years masters.
Okay. I have no understanding. You know how I said diploma or whatever before I said out there? Zero understanding of university.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the certificates are called. I don't know the time frames. Like, just that's why I probably said the wrong word and it wasn't meant to be offensive. But
Oh,
diploma, I
that's
don't
okay.
even know what it was. All right. So, Claire, how did you get to the point in 2017? I guess starting from wherever you want to go back to.
Yeah, so
You had a TV, I'm guessing.
I had a TV. It was a very big box TV that took a long time to warm up. But I grew up in Tassie, and
You waiting for some jokes?
no, my I guess my family was always into nature, camping. Every holiday was a camping trip with cousins, brothers, sisters, the whole bit. And I've always been big on outdoors. I didn't know what that meant in terms of what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And I have tried a lot of things to see what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. So my first degree is in, it's a Bachelor of Business, doing finance and marketing. So I went into the financial services, and I was looking after people's money who had so much they didn't really know what to do with it.
Yep.
And that eventually wore me down and it didn't sit well. And I said, this isn't it.
Yep.
So then I decided I wanted to leave Tassie and came over to Adelaide for some reason. Oh, I was on a holiday, went on the Garn
Yep.
up to Darwin.
Yep.
And I stopped in Adelaide for 2 days and I thought, oh, this is quite nice. It's not Melbourne,
Yeah.
it's not Sydney. I can handle this. This is really cool. So, yeah, I enrolled at uni to do urban and regional planning and packed up my little van and drove over and didn't know anyone.
Yep.
Organised to move in with a young couple and just rented a room off them for a couple of months.
Yep.
And then a house sat. And that was brilliant.
Because you don't have to pay.
You don't have to pay. Generally, there's pets
Yep.
and big dog lover.
Yep.
And I got to see so many different areas of Adelaide that I realised, one, where I didn't want to be
Yep.
and where I did want to go. And then I met my partner at uni in the 3 weeks that I attended before I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do. And we now have a house and a puppy.
Yep.
And so I ended up getting a job as a receptionist in a IT consulting firm. And I lasted about 2 weeks and I said, I'm so bored.
Yep.
You need to give me more things to do.
Yep.
Famous last words. I ended up office manager.
Yep.
And every other little elf duty that people just thought happened,
Yep.
that was me. And I did that for 6 years.
Okay, so you jumped from the 2 weeks into 6 years with more responsibility.
Yeah. And I was doing their marketing, At one point, I was doing the national marketing. There was this company had offices in every state apart from Tasmania. So I learnt a great deal from that, built up a big network in the professional field. So at this point, I didn't really know anyone in landscape.
Yep.
And then it was must have been 2015. I was like, I'm not going to be an office manager for the rest of my life. This is not it. And I enrolled in the Bachelor of Architectural Design just part-time.
With the intent of... Not
sure. I did look at the landscape design diploma at TAFE, and I guess I've always been a uni, like I've always pushed to go to the highest level.
Yep.
And if I was going to do a diploma, why not just do the degree?
Yep.
And I already had a degree, so I knew I could do it. And so I enrolled in the Bachelor part-time. Started meeting people. I went to my first networking event a month before I started.
Yep.
And just had been going to events as much as I can. And now, 4 years down the track, I'd say I've got a pretty good handle on the community.
Yep.
And it's such a good community.
Yep.
And this now feels right.
Yeah.
And when Rachael said, let's start our own thing, I might have gone, oh yeah, I think I have to think about it. But I was like, yes, I'm doing it.
So like kind of when someone makes an offer that's higher than you're expecting, you're like, I'll have to get back to you. You don't want to just put all the cards on the table and be like, ah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a bit to sort out before we got rolling.
Yep.
And for me, it's a completely different industry. Going from a professional office to landscapers is very different.
It's nice though, isn't it?
It is. And I think that has helped us a lot because I've brought that professional side of business to our business, and I think there are landscapers that maybe struggle.
There would be
with that.
9 out of 10 landscapers would have that as a gap.
Yeah,
and I think it's a thing that occurs in all trades, that they're good at what they do, but they don't know the other stuff. It's perfect that you've brought that across.
Yeah, so we every now and again we have very different opinions, but that makes us better as a whole.
Yep.
Because we work through it and we see 2 different perspectives instead of one, and pick the best bits.
Did you guys register? So you set up as a company straight away?
Yes.
That's obviously come from your background.
Yes, and because I have a house, and I'm pretty sure I just said, look, I'm not interested in putting anything on the line.
Yeah, so no partnerships, no. Yep, fair enough. What's the story behind the business name? Did that come from a location?
Yes.
Do you want to explain that, or is that
we were
too sensitive?
No. We were actually talking about business names for quite a while, and
it's hard.
With my previous business name, I was never comfortable with it. It never rang. Outdoor Oasis Designs was difficult sometimes for me to even say.
Yep.
So I wanted something that was really catchy, and so we were talking about something that relates to design or that relates to landscapes, or even something that relates to our name. So trying to put our names together in certain ways and make it work.
And it does not work.
Like a Brangelina kind of thing?
Yeah, It doesn't work with us.
Doesn't
work. Not at all. And it was on my mind fairly consistently, and I was driving home and had the wonderful Siri directing me. And Siri said, turn right onto Fox Avenue. And I went, Fox Avenue? That's kind of got a ring.
Yep.
It's literally the street around the corner from my house.
Yep.
And I just went, that actually sounds quite good. Let it play over in my mind for a while. And then I spoke to Claire and said, what do you think about Fox Avenue Studio? Or we put a few other additives to it. And that's where it came from.
And you were just like, yeah.
At that point, I was like, "Yep, if you're happy with it."
Ring, ring. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. I like to see partnerships that have worked or that are working, because obviously in time things can change. And obviously, I was in a partnership in the early days, and I can't be in a partnership. I'm just I have to be in charge. I guess, how do you split your roles? You've obviously mentioned that you've got that kind of business background.
Yeah.
Do you have kind of position descriptions, or are you just, it kind of works, and then if there's a problem you just talk about it? And
I wouldn't say that we have actual descriptions as differing roles.
Yep.
We tend to do everything. But I guess I find some things more enjoyable. I'm one of those weirdos that like spreadsheets and that kind of thing.
The world needs those weirdos.
They do, and especially in a business, you need one of those weirdos.
Yep.
So that's another area where our partnership really works, as I like doing those things, so it's not a chore.
Yep.
But then, yeah, I guess we tend to gravitate to what we enjoy.
So if it, obviously inside your business there's going to be design, and then the admin side. There's obviously other marketing that can either be there or not be there. So if a design comes into your business, does it come into one of you and then you run with it, or do you both consult at the same time, and then you kind of, that's the advantage of Fox, that you can kind of have two heads on one design, or how does that look?
Yeah, pretty much that.
Yep.
So there are certain designs where they've connected like with either Claire or with myself.
Yep.
Our first site visit we try and do together.
Yep.
Because if one of us is going to take the lead on that project, they need to be involved with that client and have a good read on the client and the site, because it's not just about the site, it's about reading what that client is and who they are. So we do our site visits together. At least we try to. We're pretty on with that. And generally when we're at the site visit with the client, it will direct us as to who will take the lead on the project. There are certain projects where we've been to the site visit, and as they're talking, I've just looked at Claire and said, "This one's yours.
Yep.
This is just so you. This is..."
As in the client, you just kind of organically start to click with the client better, or it's the style of the garden, or you just get a sense?
The sense and the style of the garden that they're after.
Yep.
And it does tend to work that way with the clients. There are other clients where it sort of sits between the two of us.
Yep.
So we'll sit down together and have a bit of a studio session and smash out some concepts, and really play off each other when it comes to the design. And it just tends to really run really smoothly that way. Other times Claire will be working on as the lead on the project, and then she'll have certain things that she wants to run past me, so we'll get together and have a chat about that as well and work through that. But that's how it normally works. We try and both be involved at the very start, and that way if something does come up as well, it's not an unfamiliar project to either of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have a perfect client? Not an individual, but I guess an avatar of the perfect client.
Someone who understands the value of design.
Yeah. Just one of our fans.
Someone who understands the value of design and is prepared to invest in it, because it can be an investment. Also people who are prepared to voice their opinions. Generally the hardest clients that I've found to work with have been the ones that say, "I don't know what I want." They actually do, or at least they know what they don't want, but they're not prepared to voice that to you, and that makes it really difficult. So our perfect client would be someone who is prepared to say, "I do or don't want that," and make the decisions.
Yeah.
Why?
Because then we can work with that information. So we can then say, well, this is a definite out. That gives us a read on what they do or don't like in other areas, not just, say, if they don't like pink, for example.
Yep.
Generally, that'll give you a read on styling and other things as well.
Okay.
Whereas if someone says, "I don't care," it's,
Yeah, and being open to ideas that they aren't aware of, that they haven't considered. Like some clients will have a definite idea on what they want, and then you go, "Well, hang on, what about this? I've been talking to you, you've mentioned this, how about this?" oh yeah, that's fantastic. Yes, let's put that in. So you need to be able to know the brief, but challenge it as well. Don't be happy just taking on what they're saying, because they might not be aware of something that they might want.
Yeah, okay. And I'm kind of getting that at the end of it, then you don't get to a point where the client's like, well, I'm not really happy with that.
No.
Because you've actually exhausted all things early.
Yeah.
And you haven't wasted time drawing something that, or concepting something.
Exactly. So we always do a return brief. Once we've met with them, gone around the site, talked with them, we'll write up our notes and say, this is what we've read from what you were saying, this is what you're after.
Yep.
And that, at least right from the beginning, you've put that out there as what you see they're needing, and given them the opportunity to say, well, yes, I like this bit, but no, you don't need to focus on that. So that really drives how we shape our designs.
Okay. Is there, I guess, have you ever had a point where you've had a client where you're just like, we can't work together? Like, you have a consult and be like, no, you're better off dealing with someone else? You don't have to give examples.
The first client that I took the lead on.
Yep. Just, it wasn't going to work?
It did not work out well.
It was a baptism of fire for Claire. Yeah, it was a learning experience for all of us. And from that, we've taken away definites of what we do and don't want, and what we will and won't do.
So you've kind of got values around your clients, or how you want them to act, and what the style of work is, and
Yep.
That was perfect timing, really, because we learned a lot from that, and our agreements, the whole system that we had changed because of that client. So really, we should thank them.
Yeah.
Send them a hat. What's the most interesting, I guess, or odd thing that you've been asked to incorporate into a garden design? If anything at all. I mean, I'm just imagining people that have just like, I've got this statue that we've brought in from Italy. I'd like it to fit here.
We've done that without them asking.
Yeah.
We've done that a few times. Like, we've seen it in their garden and gone, oh, that's really interesting. We've got to fit that in.
Yep.
Yeah. We've just completed a master plan for a client, and they actually have a farm. And on our first site visit, we're shown around the farm and the areas, but this is cool. It's actually a beautiful spot, and she's quite crafty as well. She does basket weaving and whatnot. So we saw a little studio, which was really cool, and we took some photos, as we do on our site visit, of things that caught our eye, and one of them was a manual bagging, call it machine, I guess. Like a
hopper.
No, really old school.
No, really old school, like 1900s kind of, where you put the bag on and you shovel it in, and then and we found that really quite interesting and appealing and rustic, and she actually commented afterwards. We used it in our social media, and she commented afterwards just saying, I'm surprised you found that interesting. So from her perspective, that's something that's old. It's been on the farm for years. It's not interesting whatsoever. But from a fresh perspective that we have, it was like, that's really cool.
You're like, this is a feature.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's rubbish.
Yeah, that is kind of bag.
Do you want it?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, she had a few of those things too.
Yeah.
The whole do you want them?
Yeah. She even contacted us later in the week and said, I've been walking around seeing everything completely different now that you've been here and pointed things out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, that's wonderful cool to hear that that before we've even done anything, we've changed someone's perspective and got them thinking about the possibilities.
Yeah.
I saw on your Facebook that you were in Clare Valley recently.
Yes.
Is that a common occurrence, and do you have, I guess, a limit to how far you'll travel for design?
We haven't reached the limit yet.
Yeah, we're still pushing that.
We've been up in the Riverland a few times.
Yep.
And we're always open to travel.
Yep.
My partner's family have a house up in the Riverland, so I get up there as much as I can.
Yep.
And it's an area I think that could use some help.
Yep.
So yeah, we're definitely interested in expanding our reach.
Yeah, I feel that that's sort of an area where people don't necessarily have access to the skills.
So they just don't do it.
So they don't do it. And we're more than happy to help. So, yeah, it's an area that I think would value it as well because it's what they need.
Well, there's still nice properties and there's obviously still
Yeah.
the capacity to do it.
Yeah.
I guess people aren't thinking about that for their holiday house or their second property.
Yeah.
We talked before about how someone will take a lead. Do you each have a different style? Yep. Can you describe that, or is it's just one of those like things like?
Depends on the job to some degree. Claire's very native oriented when it comes to plant selection, and I would say she's brilliant at doing the very natural landscapes.
Yep.
Whereas I prefer landscapes that have a bit more of a human touch to them. As in, you can.
That's not fair. Jeez. I'd say you're more into exotics and you like it to look really flashy.
I might be breaking
Yeah.
the partnership.
No, this is regular development of the partnership.
Yeah.
I like it.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that you can actually see that it's been.
You can
The
walk into a
landscape has
designer and know who's done
been
it.
manicured, and you say somebody's come in here and changed this, or their footprint is on that.
So you're,
that
as in,
space.
I go straight to hedging versus
Yep.
just the plants
Like
do their own
Yep.
thing.
topiary
Yeah, that's where.
as opposed
Where
to
Rachael goes.
native
Yep.
bushland.
Whereas you just go, it
Yeah.
grows.
yeah.
Yeah, low
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah. Well, we've had clients who have said, look, I don't want it to look like anything's happened. I want it to look like it's natural.
Yep.
And then we go, I think I'll take
But
the lead
pretty
on that
natural.
one. Yeah.
Not barren.
No.
natural.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like it's always been there, and that it's meant to be there,
Yeah,
rather
Yeah.
than a hedge.
I get you. Yeah, yep, I understand. I guess, is there a product that's currently in the market that you're obsessed with? Do either of you have like a stone or a water feature or a? I mean, what's popping in the market at the moment?
I'm going to say that I try and keep my choices very varied,
Well,
because otherwise a design can become very consistent
So you're
for
just doing
everybody.
the same. Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen at all. So
Yeah, it's not like we have a kit of materials and
You
we
just
go,
put it on the
we'll
table."
just take that one.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
I tend to look more at what's already there.
Yep.
And see what we can incorporate in our designs. Because I think people, like, they don't put stuff in their garden that they absolutely hate. Like, there must have been some attachment or some reason for putting that in there. Particularly like statues, sculptures, water features, those kind of elements. But I am a big fan of stone. And we
Natural
do
stone.
Yeah. And I mean, we've got all the quarries around us, so you'd be silly not to make use of that, and looking at local materials and how we can incorporate them.
Yep, that makes
Definitely.
sense. I guess it's environmentally sensitive as well as cost
Yeah.
sensitive for your client. Having all that plant life around you,
Makes us happier people.
yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I really do.
Well, you've both described your childhood being in kind of outdoorsy environments. Could you move into a different office? Would it be uncomfortable for you then to move into an office, say, on Peary Street, or does that just work for you guys?
depends on the office and depends on the
Just
the
green
greenery.
walls and- yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think we're at a point where we can very easily adapt,
Yep.
and we have been adapting continuously. And I don't think that we'll reach a point where we wouldn't be able to go, okay, this isn't it anymore.
Yep.
Time for something new.
Yep.
And just embracing that. And if that means that we're in a tiny little office in Peary Street and we are struggling to keep our indoor plants alive, so be it. Like, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
That's just part of who we are
Yeah.
as people and as our business is.
Yeah.
As designers, it's our job, I guess, to look at these things as opportunities rather than can't work in this space. What can we do with this space to make it work?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's really what we look at when it comes to looking at office in Peary Street.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the underlying.
Yeah, whatever challenges we come up against, we make it work. That's the way we are trained to think.
Yeah.
So-
And a lot of our work is on client site anyway. So we don't tend to have
It's just
many
the
people
space.
coming to our space
Yes.
to see us. So, you know, at the moment the site office is perfect because, you know, we're there, we're set up, and we have that room to be able to do what we need to do.
Are you working from home as well, or you try to keep the business and personal separate?
We try to keep it as separate as possible, but running a small business, you can't really.
Yep.
I don't think it's realistic to expect that you can just shut it off and leave it. And we were having this conversation the other day that we don't really want to do that. We would prefer to spread our time out over the week
Yeah.
and enjoy ourselves during the week as well,
Yeah.
rather than try and work our asses off for 4 or 5 days
For
and
the traditional weekend.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It also is difficult with our university schedules. So, you know, we might have a half day where we have to be at uni, but we also have a half day of work we need to do for Fox Avenue.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's no point in heading out to an office to do that. It's
Yep.
much easier to do that bit from home. That might be the admin sort of stuff.
Yep.
It might be calling clients and touching base or sending emails. So it is, I think in our case, it is spread out more so than just at one location. And that keeps us on our toes too.
I was going to say, I when you started saying uni and work, then I thought you've also got client requirements that, you know, the people that you're working for or with have things that they're doing as well, which brings in night times and Saturdays and Sundays. So it's kind of a 24/7, not a 24/7 workload, but a potential that needs to fit inside that, doesn't it?
Correct.
The one of the questions that I was thinking of this morning, which I'm interested to know, is what skill, if any, would you take from the other? If you could do
learn
something.
from-
No, yeah, like if you could add that to your arsenal.
Not take it away and
No, they still get to keep it.
Get to keep
You
it.
just
Excellent.
you get to have it too.
Oh man.
Okay, for me, it would be learning from Claire's calmness, or at least the way she appears calm. She's very, very, very calm and doesn't tend to panic very often. It's one of those things that I guess as a business it makes us work really well together as well, is that she's so stable and calm, and I tend to get anxious and, you know, want to power on. Not that she doesn't want to power on, but
Yeah. I understand.
it's like with the opposite in
calm.
it's like we're kind of the opposite.
And you went with Fox Avenue?
Yeah, so for me it would be taking on some of that and not getting so anxious and highly strung about, you know, this needs to be done and this needs to be done, and it'll get done.
It's always there tomorrow, yeah.
That's right, but that's what I would take from Claire. That would be a life skill, I think.
Do you have an answer? Oh, you're like,
I've
no,
been
I'm
thinking.
perfect. I got all I need.
I know I'm not perfect.
It can be, I guess, a skill or a trait.
I'd say commitment. Rachel has so many different commitments that I marvel at how she manages herself and her time. And I've attempted to do that, but
Maybe that's why she's so calm.
Yeah, maybe.
maybe I've reached the point where I've gone, no, I can't do that. So what can I let go of? But I feel like Rachel and I are very much yin and yang, which also makes us work well together. And when someone is panicked or upset or scared or whatever, that almost inspires me to be the opposite.
Yep.
So we both don't lose our heads. We go, oh, hang on, let's step back. And what is the worst that could happen? how can we change this? You know, it doesn't have to be, oh my God, the world's going to fall apart. That's a waste of energy for me.
Okay.
So,
If a young person was to ring you now and say, look, I want to do what you're doing, and say they're 15, I want to do what you're doing in 15, 10 years, whatever it takes to finish all the education, what would you tell them?
do you really want to do it?
Have you exhausted all your options?
Have you tried everything else first? I would say absolutely do it, but be prepared for it to be hard work.
Yep.
It's not easy. Just doing the degree is hard enough on its own. I think running a business, you need to be very committed, and you need to understand that it's not going to be a 9-to-5 job that you can walk away from, and that it does take time. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen.
Instagram.
But definitely put the time and effort in, and you will be well rewarded for it. And it is such a great space to be in, as we were talking before about community. There's so many amazing people in this industry that we really love being a part of that. I would encourage kids to get into that, definitely. And I think as lifestyles change, it's going to be more and more important.
I think there's definitely space for a lot of people to work into the market over the next 10 or 15 years. You can see it now with the shortage of staffing. Not, I guess, I don't know what the design side of it's like, but I see the installation side of it, and there's definitely a shortage of skilled work. So, and the community hasn't always been there. You guys are probably quite privileged to be coming in now.
Yes.
Because for a long time, everyone was hiding behind their fence, and I'm not telling them what I'm doing. They're a competitor or whatever. So, it's a good time to be doing it. Are you using? I'm guessing you're using software based on the fact that you've done so much education for your designs. What software are you using, and are you hand designing first? If that makes sense.
We always do hand drawing for our concepts. It's just, well, for me, I don't see a way to creatively do a design if you go straight to a computer. And for us, we like having a day where we'll just throw ideas around, we'll scribble, we'll throw paper around, we'll go, well, what about this? What about that? And that is some of my favourite days, but it's where we get so much done. And then once we've gone, yes, that's what it needs to be, then we move on to the computer.
Yep.
And so the computer for us just allows us to put our drawings down in a way that people understand them.
What are you using on the computer? Like Vectorworks or CAD or?
We use Rhino.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is...
You say that like it's you don't pull that out at a party and proudly?
No, it's not... I guess it's not common.
Yep.
But there are firms that do use it.
Yep.
For us as a small business, it comes down to money as well. Subscriptions are really expensive for software. And Rhino allows us to model 3D, 2D, and do our drawing sets. And that's what we need at this point. So
it might be what you need at all points as well.
It could be.
There's nothing. I'm a massive fan of. It's not what everyone else is doing. It's what we're doing.
Yeah,
so.
And it works for us.
Yeah.
And we have the privilege to be able to choose what we want to do. And that's how we run our business.
Yeah.
We're quite well versed in a lot of programs. And so I
was going to say, you have to have covered it all.
We've worked through a lot, and we've sort of gone around in circles and come back to it. And that's what's working well for us at this point in time. I mean, programs come and go and change all the time, so who knows where it will be in 10 years' time. But at the moment, it's allowing us to consolidate everything into the one program.
Apple or PC?
PC.
Interesting. I like it.
I had an Apple once.
DK's smirking over there. He's like, trust me, they'll come round.
My Apple was the most beautiful thing I've ever had, and I had it for about 8 years. My laptop.
They seem to last.
Yeah.
What you just decided the software wasn't going to work that way, or?
I started going to uni and they were using PCs, and I said, why make it hard for myself?
Yeah.
And for me,
Beauty's
Stay
not
calm.
everything.
my ex-husband is a software engineer, so he's very much PC.
Yeah. So you had it ingrained.
So there was no other option for me.
So hang on, you went from like no TV to marrying a software engineer.
Exactly. Where I'd go and do something on the computer, and next thing you know, the screen would stop, and he'd be at work mucking around doing whatever on the home PC. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, not that I'm very good at all that software-y sort of stuff, but yeah, that's where my PC.
Why didn't you have a TV? I have to ask because people will be listening to this, and you don't have to. If it's
No, it's
heavily
not.
sensitive,
It's not. People think, like, I grew up in quite a religious family. A lot of people go, oh, is it because of the religion sort of stuff? It's not at all.
Yeah.
My mum had a plant on top of the TV, and it was one of those old boxy TVs.
Yeah.
So I was, before I started school, I reckon I was about 4. She overwatered it. It went into the TV. The TV blew up, and that was it. They just went, I'm one of 5 kids, so they went, no, you guys can...
you'll work it out.
Yeah, can sort yourselves out. And it was an amazing upbringing, I have to say. I didn't miss it at all. We
Yeah.
had a lot, being one of 5, a lot of friends that would want to come to our place because
This
we'd
was
all
fun.
be mucking around together, playing card games or board games, or we lived literally on the back of the town oval. So we go down the back fence, play cricket or soccer or football, or, you know, it was a lot of...
Oh, I know where. Yeah. So how big was the
entertaining sort of
property?
stuff. I think it was about a ½ acre.
Okay.
Yeah.
Manageable.
Yeah.
It's the reason when I reacted like that. My wife grew up on Range Road North.
Okay.
On they got
inside.
20 acres. So
Yeah.
I'm very familiar when you said
Yeah.
it. We've covered that off. Is there anything that you would refuse to put into a design?
I'd be very reluctant to put artificial turf in.
Yeah.
And artificial plants, for that matter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think about that.
No, they're off.
Yeah.
I,
I guess turf's probably got more of a place than artificial plants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there would be areas. I mean, I hate to say this, and this will get clipped somewhere, but there has to be a place for artificial turf
Yes.
somewhere that's not a bin.
Yeah.
Like that-
Yeah.
And people that I know a few people that sell artificial turf. They're going to hate me for saying it, but
Yeah.
I own an irrigation shop as well. So
Yeah.
you know.
There was a job that we did. It was just a really small install. We don't tend to do a lot of installs, but the lovely client said to me, "Oh, did you see the house down the road?" And for some reason I hadn't noticed, but she said, "You've got to drive really slow and you'll see it." A brand new house, and the front was artificial lawn that I don't even know they'd bought from an artificial lawn company. It was all lumpy.
Yeah,
and
like a
bumpy
hardware artificial.
with white stones with these artificial flowers, and I was looking on the sign, the for sale sign, and they had this green wall that you look out from the kitchen, all artificial plants. It looked horrible,
It's
and
artificial.
it was a brand new home that was up for sale.
Low maintenance.
No.
Yeah.
Horrible,
dust it.
horrendous. Yeah,
Yeah, I've got a pretty clear position. I mean, we've been offered the opportunity to sell artificial turf a number of occasions. I mean, I've been to China and met with people that can sell it to me, not for that purpose. And I don't know.
Do they use it a lot in China?
They make it a lot. You wouldn't see it anywhere.
No,
There's no, but they don't have anything. They've just got concrete.
Yeah.
I mean, they do. They've got plants, but there's a lot of artificial plants. But I'm talking palm trees, like 4 meter tall palm trees that are
Wow.
artificial, and then at night they light up. They've got LED
Yeah.
lights in the actual
Fronds,
fronds.
yeah.
Fronds, yeah. There you go. It gives you a bit of a sense of my education level. So I guess what's next? Where does Fox Avenue? Are you looking at like expanding to having a lot of staff, or are you happy with status quo and you just?
Well, as Claire
keep
said
doing great
earlier,
things?
world domination is really on our
I think that was
on our
before
books at the
we
moment.
started recording. Yep.
We have had some quite what would you call it, heated debates about who will run our German office.
Yeah.
But but I think for us, we're looking for to moving forward to helping students through the process as
Yep.
well. Part of our values as a company is to be open and community, part of a community and collaborative. And we would love to work with new designers that are starting out that need some experience, or students that are working through university, or people that don't have the opportunity to actually get into a firm and get an experience for what it's like.
Yep.
So really wanting to head down that path. In regards to our designs, we are looking to do some bigger projects.
Yep.
We have a few that we've been looking at for a little while, so really enjoying those. But really, any size isn't overly important. We'd love to head into the country more,
Yep.
as we talked about earlier. I think that's an area that...
It sounds like you've got such a pull
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My grandparents lived in the Riverland, so I spent a lot of my school holidays up in the Riverland as well. So I am quite drawn to that too. And I think there's so many opportunities out there for people to really appreciate that just because they live in an area that might be part of a drought or that might have poor soils doesn't mean they can't have a beautiful garden.
Yeah. True. If people want to get in touch with you, I guess for work / students around work experience, or I don't know how that even looks, if that's what you mean. What's the best way to communicate with you guys? Like through social or email?
Email.
What's your most active platform?
Instagram.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Yep.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say any other answer would have sounded weird, but
Yeah.
so we'll get DK to link up the socials underneath the podcast. Is there anything else that you want to promote at the moment that's, I guess, happening or think places you're going to be? Are there any home shows / I'm assuming you'll go to Melbourne again next year
Yeah.
and every year thereafter? Come with us next year.
Well, that's the plan. That's
To come
what you
with
told
us.
us. So,
Yeah.
That night that we
I was
met.
going to say, just for so everyone knows what's going on there, this is the third time that I've met Rachel.
Yep.
First time I remember meeting Rachel, which is more of it's not a sign of your memorability. It's a sign of my, I guess, alcohol consumption around the times that we've met. So that night in Melbourne that I went to the pub, remember when you went home at about 10? Yeah. I reckon I probably met Rachel about, I don't know, was it... You don't.
I got
was
in
it
about
7?
9 o'clock. I got in about 9 o'clock. It was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock when
during
you
the
guys headed
podcast,
over.
I've been having flashbacks. I'm like, I think we did meet. I remember. I'm like, that's right.
That looks familiar.
That's right. So there's blocks of hours that I don't have any memory of. So anyway, that's something I'm dealing with. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank
I know
you
you
for
guys
having
have
us.
ridiculously busy schedules.
Thank you.
And for everyone, check them out on Instagram. We'll link it up. What is the Instagram handle? Is it at
Fox Avenue Studio.
easy to find?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.